All right, fresh off one of the greatest selling down. Actually, it's not selling because it's all free, but one of the most downloaded episodes ever last week with WWE, WWF, WCW, TNA, PWG legend, Hot Rod, Rowdy Roddy Piper. We're back not with a wrestling legend, but with a true wrestling fan. And it's the fans who make Rowdy Roddy Piper and anyone else a legend, because we're the people who buy the shit. He's also a very funny comic, creator of videos that take 7 months to get out. Put your grubby, greasy, dirty fingers together for Mr. Patrick O'Sullivan.
Thank you.
You don't get an intro like that on anyone else's podcast.
No, and I'm honored to be the guest after Rowdy Roddy Piper.
It's a tough spot, you know. It's like you're like Corolla filling in for Stern after he left radio. It's like I don't know who would have been. I figured get a wrestling fan.
Yeah,
As my dog's wiping her ass on the carpet. That's
it's a
always
Rikishi move right there.
Yeah, the stink. What was it? The stink
face.
Which is crazy to me that Rikishi got into the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's like, who
Yeah.
doesn't?
Yeah, I have some other choices over him.
Well, I mean, Rick Rude should have been in before Rikishi. I mean, who are your choices?
Yeah, who's not in there? I would go even with
Sting.
Sting. Is Booker T in?
Yeah, Booker T's in.
Okay, definitely go with him. How about tag teams?
Well, if the Bushwhackers are in, I'm pretty sure it. I think if you're 50 and alive, you get in.
Or dead.
Right. Well, not necessarily. I mean, took Macho Man.
Yeah, but
because he was boning Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah, you said it for me.
Don't you think it would have been cool if she would have put him in?
That would have been amazing.
Just an inside joke for us marks, and like I was talking to Piper. I was like, how the hell did Hulk Hogan be the guy who puts him in? They hated each other.
Yeah, from what I hear.
Well, I mean, if you believe what Warrior said in his shoot videos, which I do. Do you ever see those?
Yeah, he just goes on and on and on.
It's in like an hour of him interviewing himself without stopping.
That's the best way to do it.
I mean, I could do maybe 15 minutes before I'd be like, all right, I don't really know what else to say. You got the feeling he had another hour in him.
You got to really love yourself.
Yeah, I think Warrior did.
Oh, yeah. If you change your name to your character, your legal name, you love yourself.
But that's almost, people probably, when they hear that, go, what an idiot. What a moron. It's really quite genius when you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that he would subject his kids to be called Dana Warrior.
He's basically setting his kids up for a future as wrestlers.
Can you imagine the shit that those kids take in school? Hey, Warrior. I mean, it's crazy. But rest in peace. We don't like to make fun of the dead here.
No.
But if you talk about pro wrestling, you're probably going to make fun of the dead. So, I mean, they're all dropping like flies.
Right.
I think even Hakeem died. But that was my one-man gang,
Yeah,
Hakeem. One of the great character crossovers ever.
One of the most racist moves, right?
I mean, it's crazy. I was telling Piper this yesterday. They did the opening vignette of how they brought in Hakeem, from one man gang to Hakeem. Is they have Gene Okerlund in like this alley in New York at night, and they have these like 6 black dudes in like Savage outfits, like Kamala almost But the funniest thing was you could see their Converse sneakers on, like they're running around in like, Wild Man of Borneo outfits, but with like Chuck Taylors on, and Slick comes into the scene with a boombox, and then fucking Hakeem is like, my brothers, and I don't know what he was talking about.
That was the 80s, dude. You can get away with that.
But I mean, how old are you?
Late 30s.
So we're good. Yeah. I'm 46, but is there anyone out there casting? I could play 44.
I play 20.
But you look young. I would have said late 20s.
Nah, that's being nice.
Yeah, but you don't look like like weathered.
I don't think I've lived. No, I don't look like I've lived. I got soft hands.
I bet.
I do.
Well, I do have a gay audience, so I don't know what you're. I'm assuming you're straight, but who knows?
I am, but my hands, could be bought.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll see on the casting couch at Ocean Park in 21st. It's for you local actors in the scene. At Ocean Park casting, where I'm loved. I don't book anything, but I'm loved. But there's some people, like I play hockey on Sundays in Orange County with a bunch of 20-year-old kids who look like they're 50.
Oh yeah.
Because they drink and smoke weed
Sure.
and probably a little powder and and then I know some people like Kirk Fox. You know Kirk Fox?
Sure.
I mean, he's I think 50, but he looks late 30s.
Right.
So
And then we get so stuck in LA, but you go to other parts of the country and you really realize that you're like, oh, that's what a 25-year-old looks like.
yeah,
Like a
just
40-year-old.
I mean, I met this 22-year-old girl the other night at the Comedy Store, and she looked 15.
Wow.
And she's fresh off the boat, but, give her like 2 years and she'll look like, hanging out with Ron Jeremy at the Rainbow. She'll look in her early 30s by, July. This business can age you.
Yes.
I mean, how do you deal with the stress?
I don't know if I deal with it that well. I mean, I've been here a long time, but just kind of keep going. That's all you can do, right?
Where are you from?
San Francisco.
And did you start comedy there?
Not really. I dabbled. I didn't really commit to actual stand-up till 2011. That's when I really.
Oh, wow. What were
Yeah.
you before, actor? Or?
Yeah. I was, there's always that question of how long have you been doing comedy and how do you answer that? But I did it consistently in 2007 and 8 here. And then I had this sketch show that kind of took off. And so I went and did that different parts of the country. And then I came back to it in 2011. I was doing a documentary on Lenny Bruce at the time. So I was interviewing all these comics. And that was like a 6-year span. So that really gave me that itch again. Like, oh, man, I got to do this. What am I doing with my life? And finally committed to it. I'm in now.
Oh yeah, you're in too deep.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say I'm too dumb to quit because of.
What are we gonna do? What else are we gonna do?
After 15 years for me in comedy, am I gonna quit?
Yeah, I remember you from back Liquid Zoo. I remember those days.
Yeah, for those of you,
Yeah.
wondering what the hell Liquid Zoo was, it's not the Holy City Zoo of San Francisco fame, where Robin Williams, Rob Schneider, Larry Bubbles Brown,
Great reference.
an amazing legend in this business.
Yeah.
It's not that zoo. Liquid Zoo was a shitty bar open mic, but got a lot of talent.
Sure.
Like, it was weird to go in there and see like someone like Ian Bagg
Uh-huh.
doing his Tonight Show set. It's like, so it kind of like, it was a weird. It was like doing comedy at that bar in Star Wars.
Right.
It's just like, there's a lot of funny people in here. There's a lot of unfunny people here.
Yeah. Just going back to what you're saying, because I'm actually from a town called Millbrae, which is 10 minutes south of San Francisco. And it's a neighborhood that had a real large contingent of Tongan and Samoan people. So they were cousins with the Barbarian.
The Barbarian, the wrestler?
The Barbarian used to be in my neighborhood when I was a kid. It was the coolest thing ever. I saw him. I saw Snuka.
Is the Barbarian alive?
Conga the Barbarian. Yes. I know for a fact.
I'm thinking of Hercules.
No. The Barbarian of the and the Warlord of Powers of Pain, right?
Are you sure he's not dead?
Pretty sure he's alive.
That's the crazy thing when you talk about these old wrestlers. It's like, it's like, is Abe Vigoda dead?
Last I heard, he was hanging out in Minnesota.
Well, you got to feel for a guy like the Barbarian.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a guy who probably didn't save his money, probably didn't make a lot to begin with.
Right.
Now what's he do? His whole life has been wrestling.
Yep.
And now he's got to, like, go to high school conventions with Virgil just to try and make a dollar.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We also grew up by the hotels where the wrestlers stayed at when they wrestled in San Francisco at the Cow Palace. So I lived right by the, which was also down the street from the Balco gym, the famous steroid gym. And they were hanging out there.
Oh, yeah, to just get to Victor Conte and his secret juice. And
yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to look back at some of those guys and think what they were taking. I mean, you look at Hercules.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Ted Arcidi. Ivan Putski, Scott Steiner, Warrior. I don't know if Sid Vicious ever did it. I mean, he was so big naturally that.
Right.
I mean, now they kind of test, not really, but kind of. I mean, I don't care if they take it.
No, I just want to be entertained.
Yeah, listen, if you want to take a couple years off your life to entertain me, that's your decision. I mean, I'm supporting it, I guess.
It's a scripted thing. If it's NFL, okay, you're talking about competitive sport. We're talking about a scripted sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it.
Although when I said that to Piper, and he's a great dude. I mean,
right.
He kind of like his ears perked up and go, "You're not calling it fake, are you?" I could tell that that was So it's. At what point did you realize it was fake or scripted?
Well, I forget how I found out. I remember, I kind of remember my dad thinking it was real more than I did, which was weird.
So this is like mid to late 80s?
Yeah. And his favorite wrestler was Roddy Piper. Well, for obviously reasons, because he's Irish and the whole Scottish theme, and they like to bond together. But I don't remember the exact moment I knew it was fake. You know what it was probably? When I started seeing them around my neighborhood.
Oh,
just
right.
going like, that guy's not really a barbarian. He's just a Tongan guy.
Yeah.
Or one time, I remember this just crushed my childhood. We went to some matches, and my buddy and his dad dropped me off after the matches, and then he saw King Kong Bundy at 7-Eleven after. And so I didn't get to see him, but even in my mind, I was like, King Kong Bundy goes to 7-Eleven like a normal person? That's amazing. I thought he was a superhero.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first time I thought it was like, oh, maybe this is just acting, was Eddie Gilbert. He broke his neck, allegedly, in a match, and the next week he was wrestling. I was like, that's crazy, man. What's like, it doesn't seem like it could happen. I mean, I was so into it, I was like, okay, it's possible a broken neck could heal in a week.
Yeah.
And then when I met Kamala once in real life, and he spoke perfect English, and Kimchi, who was actually Harvey Whippleman, I'm like, you don't look Asian, because he had like the outfit on, or
right.
he had regular clothes on. He was dressed kind of like you are right now, like a regular shirt and jeans, but the outfit was right next to him. I'm like, oh, you're not Japanese, so But I don't care. I mean, it's a soap opera.
Absolutely. It's a male soap opera. I try to explain that to people. It's weird, I feel like over the years, sometimes you'll mention it to somebody that you like it, and they'll look at you almost like you collect child pornography or something. Like it's just bad, but it's more accepted now, I think, as a fan.
I mean, I think because, yeah, you're right. I mean, like The Rock is probably the biggest actor going right now.
Right.
And like when Hogan was acting, he never got anywhere near The Rock's success. So I think when you see a mainstream guy, like be the guy, it's like, oh, that's the wrestler, and I mean, John Cena movies are pretty forgettable.
Just for pure entertainment purposes, I was watching some clips the other day, and they did an episode of Baywatch, the WCW wrestlers. Did you see that?
I remember. Who was in it?
Well, to me, Ric Flair just stole the whole thing. But he was just doing Ric Flair. Everybody else seemed a little uncomfortable on camera in that setting. Like Flair and Kevin Sullivan get out of a limo with Vader, and they're facing off against, like a confrontation on Venice Beach. You see the basketball players behind him. It's Hogan, Savage, and somebody else. They challenge him to a match later. But Flair's just doing Flair the whole time. He doesn't care. Camera, woo, he's still Flair. Everybody else a little bit like, I'm trying to act. And that's why it's the best performance, because it's Flair being Flair.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually the wrestlers back then are better actors. Like, you look at the wrestlers now, one, they're not believable as their characters.
Right.
And the few that get movies, like, John Cena movies, I mean, that's some pretty stiff acting. And who was it? I think the Marine 2 was Ted DiBiase's kid.
Oh, God.
Who he disappeared.
He quit.
Oh, why?
He just wanted a regular job.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, your dad's a legend. I thought he was pretty good. he kind of had that dicky character. Like, he kind of
Yeah.
had a similar vibe as his dad. Like, I'm better than you. But, wrestling's not, it's like comedy. It's not for everybody.
No, I feel like they should have gone full bore with him though. Just call him the $1 million son. They kind of did it, but really give him the outfit and everything. Just own up to it.
I think he did a sketch or a segment with Virgil that I remember being pretty funny. Like, Virgil came back to talk sense into him. Virgil's, to me, one of the great characters of life. Such a racist character. Just that I can't say the word I want to use, but the stereotypical house, or Uncle Tom, whatever you want. And God, they had some great racial characters back then. I mean, when you think about it, it's there's no way they could operate like that today.
Yeah, I mean they still kind of, they play with stereotypes like the Rusev character.
But I mean I guess that's racist. I mean, I'm not. By the way, if you hear crunching in the background for the listeners, this is one of the cons of doing a podcast from your home. That's neither me or Patrick. It's Lois eating. So she's usually a nighttime eater, but but she also usually doesn't like male guests, and she warmed up to Patrick. Sorry about that.
What does that say about me?
It says you're good with dogs and that you make them want to eat.
All right.
I mean, I know we had some audio problems when Stephen Piercy, the singer from Rat, which is the most downloaded episode ever of Inappropriate Earl. He was chewing gum the whole time. So people were like, what's that clicking sound? I'm like, how do you tell your favorite singer of all time, hey, can you spit the gum out? I couldn't do it.
He's your favorite of all time?
He is. Because I just, I like 80s metal. And,
yeah.
And I just, he's one of the few singers that the minute he sings a song, you go, that's Rat.
Right.
Like, who's your favorite band singer?
Probably Robert Plant.
Yeah, I mean, that he's almost in that same, it's Zeppelin.
Sure.
He sings. Or, there's other bands, like Steven Tyler, Aerosmith.
Mm-hmm.
They're just so identifiable. Like, I don't know who the singer from Nickelback is, but I'm guessing you could have anyone sing those songs. It was, who's this?
Yeah, I think he's bankrupt.
Well, they had a nice run. I mean, and I like their 80s metal roots. Like, you could tell that they were fans of that era, but they were trying to modernize, I don't know how they're bankrupt. But, you always get fucked on your first deal.
Oh, yeah.
Which was their biggest selling album.
I was just one of those people, the first time I heard Zeppelin, it just kind of blew my mind. It just blew up every ounce of creativity in my mind. It made me think of everything in a different way,
Those stolen blues riffs.
Mm-hmm.
You got to feel. I mean, they were like the Mencia of like rock. Like, they just borrowed these jazz, blues riffs, and a little tank there, a little tank there. And
they did find Plant though in a blues band, right?
yeah, no, I mean, I guess it depends on what your version of borrowing or stealing is. Parallel thinking, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of controversy right now in the rock world that Sweet Child of Mine was stolen from an 80s Australian pop band.
Wow.
And if you go, I think it's like TMZ or I guess any hard rock site would have it. They play the songs, side by side. And it's like, wow, this is the same song.
Damn, I got to look that up.
You wouldn't think that an 80s pop Australian band Guns N' Roses would, you'd think they'd steal from a hard rock band or something.
But isn't that the trick of stealing? Like trying to do it from something that's so kind of obscure?
Well, that's what I do. So, I mean, that's why I just joke about 80s metal and hockey, figuring no one's going to steal this.
That's what's crazy about comedy is like people stealing from other comedians. So that everybody sees everybody. There's videos online. Just the blatant actual thievery of jokes is crazy to me. The attempt at it is crazy to me.
Well, the balls of no, she's cool. She won't bite you. Sorry, Lois was going right between Patrick's legs, Lois has bit 2 people watching UFC parties here.
Oh, nice. It's getting licks over here.
But I had a joke of mine told at Roast Battle the other night, right in front of my face, like word for word, and I didn't say anything because it was like the Roast Battles, crazy atmosphere in there, and
right.
But it was literally word for word. It's not parallel thinking. It's not the greatest joke,
Right.
but it's like, Jesus Christ, that's balls bigger than church bells in there. So, have you ever heard a joke of yours stolen?
No.
Really?
No. I mean, for the most part, I try to talk about things that actually happen to me.
Right.
I feel like that makes it harder to steal anyway.
Right.
But it's just how I tend to talk anyway. I try to get people on board. Like, listen to what I did. I'm interesting. Please listen. Please laugh. But I don't know. That's kind of a lot of the tips I heard. When I first started out too, was just, yeah, man, write stuff that only you can write.
Yeah.
Because then,
I think I think if you do just standard material, it's easier to steal.
right.
And then it's also easier for people to claim parallel thinking if you're doing, like maybe topical news stories, Although in some cases, like I'm obsessed with Asian airline pilots, and it's been a rough year for them. So it's hard for me to not make jokes about that. Or Bruce Jenner. I mean, how do you not make jokes about him or her? I mean,
and don't you feel a lot of times in LA, audiences really, you go to like your standard LA bar show, they really want the kind of basic, let's talk about men and women. Let's talk about black people and white people. And that I try not to pander, but it's out there for the taking where you're like, man, to really get people on board, then listen to your more personal stuff. I feel like sometimes it's a challenge.
well, I mean, it also depends on, who goes on before you.
Right.
It's like if they're saying like a lot of cuss words or getting pretty raunchy, it's not impossible, but it's pretty hard to talk about your dating chunk, if the comic before you is, saying fuck or
Right.
racial epithets.
Or if they have the same reference as you do.
Yeah, that's
the worst.
When someone does, like if you comic before you does a couple Bruce Jenner jokes, it's like,
Yep.
oh, scratch those off my list. But that's why I try and like do jokes about Kiss in the 80s. I mean, I'm pretty sure who's ever going on before me is not going to be doing Vinnie Vincent jokes.
Vince Neil was the first celebrity I ever saw in LA when I moved there, man.
Where'd you see him at a...
Baja Fresh eating a burrito in the corner.
That doesn't surprise me that he would be eating a burrito.
Beverly Connection. Then I saw them live, the Hard Rock in Vegas 2 years ago.
Are you what are you a metalhead to a degree?
I'm kind of all over the place. I mean, I really was a huge Zeppelin fan. I had a big Smashing Pumpkins phase at one point. I was really into the whole jazzy rap of the early mid-90s. I used to be a jazz radio DJ, which is crazy.
Like jazz, like Duke Ellington?
Yeah.
Count Basie?
Yeah, but I kept getting called a loose cannon because I would play all the rock covers, like jazz musicians covering rock songs.
Right, like what?
Well, they would have, like Stanley Jordan had a guitar version, a jazz guitar version of Stairway to Heaven. And I'd play that, and I'd find other songs out of the CD rack and play them, and then I'd get in trouble for playing a rock block on a jazz station.
But, I mean, as long as it's jazz based, I would think.
Yeah, but their format was you play one song like that an hour.
Right.
And I would play 6 in a row.
That's cool. I mean, I always like hearing different versions of different genres.
Yeah.
You don't think jazz and rock would mesh,
right.
But in some ways they do.
I mean, I definitely went through that whole concert going phase of, Day on the Green, like in the Bay Area. We had Metallica. It was Metallica, Guns N' Roses, and Body Count.
You saw that?
Yeah. Literally, I forget the amount of damage that was done. We were teenagers, tore up the Oakland Coliseum in a huge grass fight. Coming home from the concert, taking a shower, and just feeling the mud in my teeth. That was living, man.
How did Body Count go over?
I think they were kind of a little bit of an afterthought. That was just everybody kind of walking in after getting drunk in the parking lot, waiting for this big mega final. Finally people were waiting for this union. What if Metallica and Guns N' Roses toured together? Then they finally did it. and everybody went nuts.
I mean, I think the train went off the rails, I believe, in Montreal, where what happened? I think James Hetfield burned himself. I might get the name right. It was either Hetfield or Kirk Hammett. I'm
Oh,
pretty
really?
sure it was Hetfield burned himself, and they had to stop the show.
Yeah,
And Guns N' Roses, like, they were like, "Hey, you guys got to go on now."
yeah.
And Axl was like, "Fuck off!" And there was like a riot, and like Guns N' Roses could have saved the show. And then I think the tour quickly after that was like, maybe this isn't such a good idea.
Wow. Well, it was a pretty awesome show for us.
What's
But-
the best concert you've ever seen?
Whoo! Best concert. Damn. You got me, man. I haven't seen a lot of concerts. That's the problem.
Oh, really? Like, would you
Yeah.
say you've gone to fewer or more than 100?
Oh, way less. Way less.
I mean, that would be hard for me. I mean, like, as a comic, like, I don't want to go watch comedy shows. So, like, if I have a night off, I'll go to a concert. And,
yeah.
Like, for me, it was like Springsteen at the Coliseum.
Oh, that sounds great.
Sold out 5 nights in a row. The Coliseum. I mean, that's like 80,000 people, maybe more.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it. It's just like no warm-up act, no intermission, just like 3 hours.
Damn.
Mid 80s, so they were all, firing on all cylinders. And, and then there's Brittany Fox at the Troubadour in front of 20 people. I didn't want to leave. I felt embarrassed. Like they would see me leave.
Yeah.
So, and I knew I would be in trouble because they had a black guy working the merch booth. I'm like, all right, this guy definitely not a band guy.
Where was this at?
It's at the Troubadour, down
Troubadour,
the street,
Troubadour.
and it's like Brittany Fox is like a 80s. They were like Diet Cinderella,
Uh-huh.
and I thought, oh, they don't get out here much. I'll go, and literally, they could have sang a song to individual people like,
Right.
okay, Earl, you get Long Way to Love. This guy gets Save the Week. You miss get Bite Down Hard. I don't know. And so I go, yeah, I'm gonna buy a T-shirt.
Yeah.
And I go out, and this black dude working the merch booth. I'm like, you're not with the band, are you? No, brother. So he morphed into Hulk Hogan, brother.
The Hulkster. I definitely went to my fair share of Lollapaloozas.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like Jane's Addiction, stuff
yeah,
like that.
I think the Smashing Pumpkins were on that. But it was in a big kind of, you felt real detached from the music because it's the Shoreline Amphitheater in the Bay Area, which is a cool venue, but it's also, if you're not up in it, it's just it just feels like a big lawn party and you're real detached from the music,
Right.
So open air and everything.
What?
You know what? You know it was a pretty good concert? It was just more the experience of it. I saw in Golden Gate Park, because it was such a trip, Golden Gate Park, Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder gets sick and passes out, leaves the stage. Neil Young comes on, sings the rest of Pearl Jam songs with Pearl Jam.
And did he have like a teleprompter or something?
I don't think so. I think he just knew the songs. I mean, he did his songs too, but he definitely did some Pearl Jam songs. And then I believe they also at a later date said, oh, if you want a refund, we'll give you a refund, or you can go to the new concert. You know what I mean? And see that. Yeah.
I saw a show like that. My girlfriend at the time was, working for Live Nation outdoor concerts, and Morrissey was playing. And I'm not, I'm not really familiar with him. So
Right.
she just said, come hang out. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
And it is fun to be backstage at any concert. It's just the whole vibe. And but he canceled last second. He got sick, so they flew in Billy Idol.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, this is going to be interesting. It's probably 20,000 gay Mexican kids. They're not going to know who Billy Idol is. And, the first song was like an opening joke. They were kind of like, all right. And then by the third song, they loved him.
Damn.
Very impressive to, like, see an older artist.
I'd like to see him because he's an entertainer.
He's great.
You know?
I mean, even if you don't, I would recommend anyone see Billy Idol. Even, like, he's one of those artists that, like, even if you don't like him or that genre of music, you would walk away going, that guy's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he has a great chemistry with his guitar player.
I saw some pretty good Black Crowes concerts back in the day too. Now I think about it.
At Shoreline?
No, they were in smaller, like the Warfield, I believe. San Francisco's got some great venues. Like even Golden Gate Park, that's open air, but you really feel like you're part of the music there because there's no seats. It's a big lawn. There's trees around. It kind of helps the sound circulate more. It's trapped into one space, so it's just going up into the sky. So that was a pretty awesome place. I mean, music is a big part of, obviously, Bay Area history, and Metallica is a huge part of the culture up there. Carlos Santana, you name it.
Wasn't the Dead not based out of there, but weren't they mostly from there?
Yeah, even in high school, there's just a bunch of deadheads,
Yeah,
but I never got into them.
I did for a little while because I'm a Tubes fan, and I think they were from the Bay Area, but their keyboard player went to join the Grateful Dead.
Oh, wow.
And like many of their keyboard players, he ended up killing himself.
Damn.
It's like the black hole musician gig to be a keyboard player for the Dead. Like 3 or 4 have died. And this guy committed Harry Carey, which not the baseball announcer, but
Cubs win.
Yeah, Cubs win. I liked it when he would butcher the names. Like he called, he kind of said the N-word once on air because he butchered the guy's last name. He's like Ryan Sand, like
was Sandberg.
He said like Sand blank. I'm like, what? And Mark, I always loved it when Mark Gruzelanic would play against the Cubs, and I think he actually played with the Cubs for a little bit, and he just couldn't say his name. It was just like Mark.
Wow.
And he was shit-faced every game, like hammered. But
I used to want to do that too. I worked for the San Francisco Giants, and they let me be the announcer at like special events.
Really?
Yeah. My regular job is a scoreboard operator for
the Giants.
Yeah, and the Niners. So I saw, we had all those pregame concerts like Tony Bennett, Huey Lewis, and the News. They would play before the game for like a half hour after the game.
And that must have been, I mean, they're Bay Area natives. That must have been huge. I mean, in some cases, people were probably coming to them, and the game was an afterthought.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, you're so used to seeing Huey Lewis and News, but people really love Tony Bennett up there because he's got the I Left My Heart in San Francisco song,
right?
And of course, Journey is a big deal. But yeah, that was a dream I had, man, to be a sports announcer.
And what happened?
Sometimes I feel like I have too many interests, and then you get all scattered, and you find that most people that get ahead are the people that kind of concentrate on one thing. At least that's what I see.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. So at times, I had to kind of taper some things down, and it was great. I did that job for 5 years. I was super young when I got it, and even getting to do that, like dabble, just to hear your voice through the stadium, like cool. Because the regular PA announcer, she is a morning radio host, so in a day game, she might be a little late. And they're like, "Oh, Patrick, make this announcement." I'm like, "Oh, cool." Just make this, regular announcement about like, check out the Coca-Cola fan lot or whatever in the over the speaker. When you're young, you trip out over stuff like that. Like, oh, wow, it's really cool.
Did you get to say now batting Barry Bonds?
No, but I did. I did companies. Like companies around out the stadium, now batting for Panasonic, Ted in accounting, like that kind of stuff.
Oh,
really? Yeah. That kind of stuff.
Now, what does a gig like that pay per game?
It wasn't bad. I think I made like $300-400
a game
for that.
Right.
For those like special event things. It varied. Like you could kind of name your price depending on the company. You're like, oh, well, this is Chevrolet, But because I was doing the scoreboard too, but the scoreboard at the time I was getting paid, I think about $200 a game.
Now, do you get to watch the game while you're doing something like that, or are you concentrating on like stats and?
No, I don't have to. See, scoreboard is just a loose term to use. I didn't do anything to do with the actual score.
Right.
I did like player nicknames and animations and ran ads and trivia questions and things like that. So I totally got to watch the game. My seat was at the Giants ballpark behind home plate, raised, see the whole bay. It was amazing. So I saw right there. It was a little different at Candlestick. When you intern, you're a camera cable puller, so you're on the field in an NFL game, which is amazing. It's also a very tough job to get to camera cable not to trip the cheerleaders, the other media, the players. You got to wrangle it as the cameraman runs up and down the field. So I was doing that when I was interning there, and then I became the scoreboard guy just because I, knew about. Basically, they needed an intern who knew about sports, and I was the only one. Everybody else was like, I just want to be a TV director.
Right.
And I was like, in 1984, hit 30 home runs. Like, that's kind of how I got that gig.
Did you ever get to go in the locker room, like, in a game, like?
Not locker room, but, yeah, dugout. And being the sidelines of an NFL game is pretty awesome. Seeing which guys really take initiative and are the leaders and, get their teammates pumped up.
Did you get to hear some good shit talking?
Huh. No, but I had what was hilarious to me is that when I was a scoreboard guy, some players would call me after they're at bats.
Really? During the game?
Yeah, and complain. Like, hey, man, you changed that during the pitch. I didn't say this, but inside I'm like, no, I didn't. I did it after the pitch. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, you got to stop doing that. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, cool.
That's what I would be doing. Hey, that error, that was a hit, right? Bribe the guy.
But it was interesting because then it's the same players calling over and over.
Barry Bonds?
No, he was cool. Jeff Kent, I'll name him.
Oh, yeah, I heard
Jeff
he's kind
Kent.
of a dick.
That's the guy.
He's like the guy when he was with the Dodgers, I think, was getting into fights with his own teammates because he was kind of a serious dude.
Yeah. But in general, we're supposed to kind of steer clear of the players unless they, talk to you. Most of them were really cool. JT Snow, you know him? Remember him?
Oh my God, wasn't he on the JT? He was on the Angels.
Angels, Yankees, I think for a minute, and he was a cool guy. Niners, I didn't really know any of the Niners. I remember seeing him around town, like in my hometown. Dwight Clark owned a car dealership. Never met Montana. Damn.
Steve Young?
That's my guy. Never met Steve Young, but he was there. Almost tripped Jerry Rice in the middle of a game with a camera cable.
Did he get mad at you?
He just looked down at me and said, "You need to move that." I said, "Yes, I do."
Was he kidding or was he being
No, he's serious, man. Because he almost, I could have easily tore his knee, I'm sure. But yeah, it was a pretty cool gig. It was one of those things where when I moved to LA to pursue like acting and comedy, all my friends are going, "Are you still going to commute?" I'm like, "Commute from LA to San Francisco?" Because they thought it was the coolest job in the world. But I had to get out of town. I couldn't be there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, LA's a wacky town, and a lot of people don't think it's a good comedy town because there's not that many good rooms to do. But at the end of the day, this is where you got to come.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot better rooms now than there were a few years ago, don't you?
See, I think there's less, but I remember back in when I first started in the early 2000s, it was like, you could hit a lot of good rooms in one night. It was almost New York-like, where New York you could do like 5 or 6 rooms a night.
Right.
Most of them paid. But back in the early 2000s in LA, you could do 2 to 3 rooms a night, good rooms. Even the open mics were pretty good. But now I find it's, the good booked rooms are pretty few and far between.
Well, it's also, I think there's just way more comics now. So they take up spots. And then the place I see, the most concentrated region I see with the most rooms is the West Side, which there used to be no rooms. Now there's tons.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you are right. And I think that's one of the downfalls of a show like Last Comic Standing. It's like it gives everyone the idea that all you need is a minute or two of comedy. So you got all these actors now going, oh, well, until my acting takes off, I'll just do stand-up. And,
Yeah, or just even the average person going, oh, I could do that.
Yeah. It's like, no, you can't.
Yeah, I did.
It's like I've had a few cast members from that show Funny Girls on.
Right.
And, that show, I hate the way they show the stand-up. It's literally one joke, 15 seconds maybe. And, there's people sitting on their couch going, oh, I could do that.
Right.
That's all you need to get on TV. And then,
Yeah.
they don't realize that one joke was taken from probably a 15-minute set and, all that stuff. So just the field is so diluted now.
But I also feel like I see more comics than ever that I really like that nobody, the general public doesn't know about. I'm like, that guy's really good.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
that's like the way I always wish I love doing comedy too much to do something else, but I would love to be a talent coordinator at a club for a year, or the person who picks it to get on TV,
Yeah.
on Conan or whatever, because there's so many funny people I know that
Yeah.
you'll probably never see.
And I generally, as a fan of comedy, I kind of like watching comics that aren't like I am. Because to me,
Right.
it kind of blows my mind that they're funny in a totally different way. You know?
Yeah, like I love watching Jamar Neighbors.
Oh, yeah, me too. Because I love, because I don't know what he's going to say. I
Yeah.
love his unpredictability. Love it.
And it's weird.
Yeah.
Most of the times at the store, when I have a late night spot, I follow him, and it's just I love watching him.
Yeah,
He's just so he doesn't care.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
watched
like,
his callback for Just for Laughs the other night.
How was it?
It's pretty good. He perked up the judges. I was watching him and the judges, and they perked up. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he's just got a great, energetic personality, and
Yeah, I bought his album.
oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I was. Actually, his album was filmed with my Zune recorder.
Yeah.
I think Ari Manis was like, "Hey, do you have a recorder we could borrow?" And I think from what I understand, it was great. And did you audition for Just for Laughs?
No, didn't pursue it either. Maybe I
Just
should.
not your thing, or
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I don't know. It doesn't really cross my mind. And a lot of times they come looking for you. Well, they didn't come looking for me.
Yeah. I mean, I auditioned a few times.
Right.
I kind of got discouraged with the process, I guess you'd say. So
Yeah.
I didn't understand it.
I went to those callbacks and just to watch, just because I had friends in it, and just it's always interesting to see like, oh, what's this format? It was a little bit of a tense room, and I mean that just kind of created, I think, by that it's an actual, oh, this is kind of a competition,
Yeah, but I think it's like the one year I got a callback. Two people on that callback bombed and got it.
Right.
So after that, I was just like, all right, I don't really get this. Not sure how to proceed.
Yeah.
So,
but it's still good to, if that's a way for people to get seen, then do it.
I would still love to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's like the Super Bowl of comedy. Like, if you get new faces, or I don't know if they have it this year, but they had the last couple of years a show called Unwrapped.
Yeah.
Which for guys, do you have a manager?
Not a stand-up one, no.
I mean, it's for guys like us who,
right.
No representation, and I thought, oh, that'd be cool to get, but because you'll never be in a position like Montreal to get up in front of almost every decision maker in the business,
right?
So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I still might pursue it. I mean, I really want to do the road more. I know people are kind of hot and cold on how they feel about the road, but I love it. It's going to a whole nother place, and funny, they find we get caught up in such. LA can be very LA centric in what it likes,
right?
And it's not. You forget. I think probably New York is like this too. You forget that the rest of the country is 99.9% of the people in America, and that you gotta, what they like, and that they might find something that funny that you don't get laughs on here.
Oh yeah, I mean, the road is just regular people.
Yeah,
they're not in the industry. They don't care about,
But they're also the people watching TV, and I think that's what the industry gets backwards. So they start picking up shows just because, or show concepts because it's like a hot thing in LA. But meanwhile, they forget that the rest of the country is the people they need to tune in for the show to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, TV shows these days, it's crazy. What gets canceled that's really good, and then a show like Revenge which is the craziest show I watched the first 3 seasons every episode, and then this season I just tapped out. I'm like, this is insanity. Wrestling characters from the early 80s make more sense than that fucking show. It is, and that's the great thing about Netflix is like, I was a big Prison Break fan.
Yeah.
And I'm rewatching that show, and I thought it was insane the first time, but, to watch it the second time was just like, how did this show last 4 seasons? I mean, the first season's awesome. It's a very innovative show.
Uh-huh.
And if it's like Stallone and Rocky. If they just would have stopped after that first season, everyone would still be talking about how great that show was. And then second season, I guess you could say you had to have it just to see where they end up after they get out. Third season, the same 10 guys end up in a Panamanian jail. I mean, it makes no. It's like, listen, I'm all about suspension of disbelief, but I like a little believability. And then the fourth season was like they were all on shrooms, and like now it's like Predator 2 where they're in the city, and like what? I mean, how much bad luck can two brothers get into?
Yeah, I don't even watch stuff like I watch. I watch documentary type shows like Gangland,
Oh, I love those.
Forensic
shows.
Files. I love that stuff.
Gangland's great.
Oh yeah, I've watched every one. I think
On Netflix, or do you have
no,
Netflix?
on TV.
I mean,
if it's on, I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, there it is. Cool.
I'm like that right now with air disasters. You should watch that. You'll never get on a plane again. Yeah, I mean it's because I don't know about. Are you afraid to fly? Or
No.
I say I am a little bit still, even though I fly a lot,
Uh-huh.
and just because it's like flying to me is a mystery. Like how just I mean, a plane weighs tons, and how it gets in the air in the first place is crazy to me, and how it stays in the air at a high altitude, and you watch air disasters, and one missed button, one missed. There's no do-overs. Like
Maybe it's because I grew up right next to an airport across the street, so I literally had planes just flying over my house. They looked like they were 5 feet above my house. Kind of got used to it.
We'll get into air disasters. It's great. They do like they give you the facts about why the plane crashed, and then they reenact what was going on in the cockpit, and it's just like, you will never ever get on a plane again.
I'm in. Gangland makes me want to go to those places. I'm like, I think I could survive there. I think I could do that. Yeah. I'm going. Detroit, let's go.
No, I'm good on that. Philly.
Oakland looks like the craziest one to me. I mean, I've been to Oakland, but watching it on Gangland, I feel like it's portrayed as the craziest one.
I mean, I watched that one about not Imelda Marcos, but Griselda Blanco. She was like the cocaine queen of Miami, but then she moved to Oakland.
Wow.
To avoid, if you've ever seen, there's several documentaries on her, and I think they touch on her briefly on Cocaine Cowboys. You ever watch that?
No, I know what that is, though.
Oh, it's the best documentary ever.
I love that. What was that one about Pablo Escobar that ESPN
the
did?
two Escobars.
Damn.
Like the soccer player. And
that's good.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a bad 30 for 30. Even if, Bernie and Ernie was great.
Yeah.
Because I was a huge Bernard King fan. So I had no idea of the racism and stuff that he faced in college.
Right.
And the Miami, they had two on the University of Miami.
Did you see the short? I think it was 30 for 30. It was one of the short ones they do online, and it's about. It starts out about how the high five wasn't invented until 1977.
Oh, really?
So you think it's gonna be this lighthearted thing, but it's actually invented by this Dodger player coming off the field high fiving Dusty Baker. But the guy that did the high five, he was the first openly gay player in Major League history. And then, so the story starts changing after that. And then he gets traded to the A's because they think he'll be more accepted in the Bay Area because of Oakland. Fights with Billy Martin. He's out of baseball, moves to the Castro, sits on the back of the car, high fives guys all day. That's what he does. Like, he just became known as the guy who invented high fives. So he's a gay guy, sits on the back of the car. People would come by and high five him. The cops in the gay community were having all this friction at the time. And they played it out like in their softball league. So the Castro signs this ex-Major League player to their gay softball team. And they start beating the cops in the softball league.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then he gets AIDS. And then he dies. It's crazy. The story's crazy. It just
What's
goes
his
on
name?
and on. Oh, God. I think it's Cliff. No, Glenn Burke. Glenn Burke.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He was a center fielder, I think.
Yeah.
Number 6.
Crazy.
No, that was Steve Garvey.
Crazy story.
Well, I mean, it's funny back then. It's like if you were gay or, any, like now it's like totally accepted. I mean, if you're good. I mean, Michael Sam wasn't like the best football player,
Right.
so I think, or Jason Collins is like he was kind of like a below average.
Yeah, he's the
I
12th
mean,
man.
I mean, he was okay, but I mean, I'm waiting for like a superstar to come out as like I'm gay. I don't think people would care.
No, not
Like
at this
if
point.
LeBron James came out, I'm
Nah.
gay. Well, LeBron James, who cares?
Right.
But and I asked Piper about gay wrestlers, and he just said wasn't really something they talked about. It's like they knew.
Sure.
Because you think you probably won't get another sport or whatever you want to call wrestling. It's more homoerotic than pro wrestling.
Well, they have Darren Young now. He's gay.
Is he gay in real life?
Yeah, he came out like a year ago.
Oh, wait, which one is he? The big black dude?
The guy I know in that tag team Primetime Players with
Really?
yeah.
Crime Time or Prime
Primetime Players. They're on now.
Oh, okay. Really? Oh boy.
He was part of that Nexus or whatever. And he kind of
Oh, okay.
yeah, he had a high hair then, but now he's just kind of normal hair. But he came out. Well, Orlando Jordan. He's bi.
He was the guy who Warrior came back,
Right.
and it was a pretty
Comeback match.
like
If you want
pretty
to call it
awful
that.
comeback match.
That match looked like NWO running to the ring at WrestleMania. Same pace.
Oh, horrible. I don't want to bore people with Sting talk again, but
Sting.
Sting. Piper, he indulged me, but it's like
I saw that he titled the episode Sting.
And throughout the whole, right before we got into it, he kept throwing out these little Sting. We're gonna talk about Sting. And, I'm still upset, but
I saw Sting at the Apple Store, the Grove.
Really?
A few years ago, yeah.
I would mark out if I saw him. You think I'd want to meet Jerry Seinfeld or, Wayne Gretzky?
Right.
If I met Sting, I would literally not know what to say.
I do. I understand. I mean, I've seen tons and tons of celebrities in LA. Obviously, it's just part of life here. But, I mean, I freaked the hell out when I saw my favorite basketball player from when I was a kid,
Who was that?
Mitch Richmond.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. He was at the the Mondrian or something one night, and I flipped out, man. I was like, "You're Mitch Richmond. You're my favorite basketball player of all time." He's like, "Well, thanks." I'm like, "I almost skipped 8th grade graduation to go see you get your autograph at Hillsdale Mall."
And what did he say to that?
He's like, "Did you go to the graduation?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "All right, good."
Did he give you an autograph?
No, I didn't ask for it at the time. I was just happy to meet him.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think we're desensitized living in LA.
Yep.
Because I mean, I'll go to the gym in a few hours. I'll see Fabio.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's a celebrity. I don't want to say which gym I go to. I think if you listen to this podcast, but like, I'll see Randy Moss working out, which is pretty neat.
But don't you think it's the things that are attached to when you're younger? Because Sting is something you watch when you're a kid, right? Somebody you watch when you're a kid.
Well, it's like I have to pinch myself doing a podcast with Piper. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
That would be amazing to me.
it's like just yesterday, we had to do it at 10 in the morning because I think they had Gene Okerlund set to call in. And, he's like, you got to get there at 9:30. And, like, I sleep late. I go to bed late. And so I was exhausted. And the minute I got there, it's like I was, like, instant energy. Like, fuck, I'm in a room with, like, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Do you know the 80s movie Summer School?
Oh, I love that movie.
So I just did a stage tribute to it because I just always wanted to do that. And the cast came, right? And then I got to do the guy to play Chainsaw, Dean Cameron.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, I wrote this fireman YouTube thing. You want to come be in with me?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I got to be in with him. And that was like, for me, I've done regular, jobs of people who are like, "Oh, wow, you got to work with that person." I'm like, yeah, but that was fine. I was fine with that. But for them, because I love the movie so much, I'm like, this is so crazy. I'm actually getting to act with these guys. To me, it's a bigger deal because when I was a kid, I watched them. So it's kind of that journey of like, wow, it's crazy that I'm here now doing this with these guys. These guys I used to watch on TV rather than just somebody that, has a name or something. but somebody that you actually cared about, or it was a project that you cared about, like that movie. I just loved that movie when I was a kid.
Oh, I mean,
Mm.
didn't you get to meet the guy who slept all through there was a
Yeah, yeah,
shiver?
yeah. Yeah, Larry. He came to. What was his name?
It's
Action.
gotta be weird to be that dude. Like he's in a huge movie, and then I don't know. I mean, did he like act again?
He
Or?
was in Leprechaun or Leprechaun 2 or something.
Okay, hey, whatever, man. It's more. I've been in one movie. That was it. So I don't hate on Larry from. And the guy who was Chainsaw's buddy in summer school, the blonde-haired, straggly hair.
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing him in anything
Nah,
again.
I don't know where he is.
And I mean, I think the biggest, well, obviously Mark Harmon, but
Right.
Courtney Thorne-Smith.
Right.
She's,
Kirstie Alley.
yeah. And the guy who played the kind of dicky principal, I've seen him.
Oh,
in a few
yeah.
things. But Courtney Thorne-Smith in Summer School. I mean, to me, that is female perfection. Like big tits, blonde.
She had the wetsuit on.
Yeah. Oh my God. But like young and like just, I would have squirted in 3 seconds if I was inside of her.
I was more into the Kirstie Alley character.
Yeah, she was big
Yeah.
until she
Kirstie Alley character. I was into Kirstie Alley.
ballooned
Yeah.
up, like Weight Watchers style. She looks a little rough. Like she looks like a fat version of the singer from Cinderella now.
Are you a Cinderella fan too?
I had the great drummer Steady Freddie Corey on. He came up to me once at Pavilions. It's a supermarket in L.A. and this is when I had long hair, and he thought I was a guitar player from Def Leppard, Vivian Campbell. So
Nice.
I'm like, hey man, you have the greatest quote ever in music history, and he looks at me kind of weird, like, what did I say? I'm like, when they asked you what your career goals were, and you just said, I want to be good enough to play on the albums. It's like, wait a minute, if you're not playing on the albums, who is? You're on the cover, So I guess he was like, he had more of the look, and they would just bring in a studio guy
Right.
to do the parts. But he's actually a really good drummer. But Kiss did the same thing. But that's kind of ruined. That was like finding out wrestling's fake.
Yep.
Like, what do you mean? Ace Frehley's not on this album. His picture's on the album, and so the less I know, the better.
Yeah, I think that's true with a lot of things, man.
I mean, what do you mean Gene Simmons didn't play bass in the 80s on any Kiss album? He's on every fucking album. He's the guy with the tongue. Yeah, they had some black dude, Jean Beauvoir,
That's a guy I used to see at the gym, Gene Simmons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What gym? Let's out there.
Barry's Boot Camp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you think about it, he does have to be in decent shape to...
Right.
I mean, he's probably wearing 50 pounds of whatever that shit is he wears on stage. And, I mean, I see his kid at the gym all the time.
Oh, yeah?
It's frightening how much he looks like him. I mean, it's like Gene Simmons is a 22-year-old or however old.
Have you seen Sinatra Jr. today?
I wouldn't know who he is.
Looks exactly like Frank Sinatra.
Oh, does he sing too, or?
Yeah, he did. He put out albums in the past, but now he looks like his dad when his dad was, 60-something or whatever. Spitting image.
I like to listen to Robert Davi sing Sinatra.
Oh, yeah.
He's like,
That's right. He put out some albums.
It's pretty good, if you can get past it's Robert Davi. I mean,
I was hired to write jokes of a roast of him last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I would have loved to have been in on that. Just the skincare.
I don't remember any of them, but I have them on a file on my computer somewhere.
Oh, I would. Who was roasting him? Just like a Friars Club type?
It was a thing back east. It was associated with a film festival.
Oh my God, would
Yeah.
I love to have been on the Robert Davi roast. I mean, just like the skincare jokes would be like out of control. But that's weird. You'd think a guy who has that, I guess not acne, but like
It's like scarring.
from like maybe acting or acne.
Acting, yeah.
Yeah,
acting.
scars.
Both.
It probably does have scars from acting. It probably has scars, permanent ones from Showgirls, which I think he uttered one of the greatest lines in movie history when Elizabeth Berkley comes back to the strip club after she's a big Vegas showgirl, and he's like, "What's it feel like to dance and not have a guy come on you?" See you later, kid.
I've done a lot of random ass shit, man. And a couple of years ago, somebody put on like a stage production of Showgirls, but with drag queens all playing the strippers, and I actually played the Robert Davi character.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
They were talented. The Showgirls, the drag queens. I mean, they were good. They were the top ones. You know, like if you see, like there's a guy named Willem Belly, and he Belly or whatever. He I mean, he's just a good actor. Like I saw him on Nip Tuck, and we played the transvestite girlfriend of one of the main characters, and it's a crazy storyline, and he's amazing on it. He's a super talented guy, you know.
Oh, Nip Tuck was, that that show was along the lines of Prison Break, where he's starting to get a little like, all right, that cliffhanger, the one season where they had the mystery killer who wore the mask, and I think it might have been the end of season 1 or it was the end of season 2 where they just show Julian McMahon get pulled to the edge of the bed, flipped over, and he gets fucked in the ass. And I was like, wow, this is good writing. I mean, I thought Norman Lear and All in the Family had some good lines, but this is the cliffhanger. Who fucked him in the ass? Turn it next season.
It was the end of the season? Wow.
Yeah, it was like, but I'm telling you, as crazy as that sounds, it worked because I was like, I got to know who did that. And it was a great storyline. It was the good-looking... Did you watch the show?
I just saw that, a couple storylines.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they brought in a third surgeon because the workload was too much. He was a really super good-looking dude, and he was a serial killer.
Wow.
And, it's just like, they had some good, like... I wish... But, with a show like Nip Tuck, it's kind of hard after... It's like Miami Vice. There's only so many Cuban drug lords you can go after.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's only so many serial killers whose finishers to put it in your ass. So where do you go from there? I mean, the storyline was so good. It's like 24. It's like, where do you... The bad guy in season 4 was so good that anyone after him was like, man...
It's got to cancel the show after that.
Well, they didn't. They kept going 6 seasons later. I mean, to me, it jumped the shark when Kiefer Sutherland got arrested in real life for DUI. And he had to spend like 48 days in jail, which is like 50 seasons. Like, do you have a guilty pleasure show?
Oh, man. It's probably some reality thing. Oh, here it is. Wait, I don't really watch that anymore, though. For a while, I would still watch The Real World.
Yeah, I tuned out of that. I think after the season with the guy from AIDS, the guy from AIDS, the guy who died of AIDS, Pedro.
That was the San Francisco season.
I think after that, I was like, all right, you're not going to top that.
Yeah. Once the things about the shows like that is once people become aware that they're on camera, now they're just playing for the cameras.
Well, yeah, it's. I mean, I watched Jersey Shore though. That was pretty.
I watched a little bit of that.
And I'm obsessed with Big Brother.
Oh, really?
Did you watch that show? No.
No. My friend won the first season though. Eddie McGee, one leg. He wants people to call him One-Legged Eddie. He's hilarious.
He won the first season of American
Big Brother. Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't. I might have tuned in. Like I think I got into like the 3rd or 4th season. I was like, this show's great.
Yeah.
And it's on 3 times a week. Like, you'd think they would burn out. Like, with any show, like guilty pleasure show, 24, prison. Maybe 24, it's different. But, okay, once a week is enough. But
right.
Big Brothers, not only do they do 3 shows a week, on primetime CBS, they have Big Brother After Dark, which is like, you can just watch the live feed when nothing happens.
You watch it?
Oh, absolutely. I like, that's how, like, big that show is that people will tune in to watch like when they're just sleeping, like there's nothing going on.
Damn.
So I want to do a show about 20 lazy black guys called Big Brothers.
Have you pitched that to anybody?
No, but I'm sure Spike TV would think about it.
Spike TV, they do put out a lot of suspect material.
Do you pitch? Have you ever pitched shows before?
No, when I first came to town, I was in this kind of pitch contest through Robert Townsend.
Oh, Hollywood Shuffle, dude.
Yeah, and me and my roommate came in first place, but then they didn't happen. It fell through.
Well,
it was
welcome
a movie,
to Hollywood, baby.
but I never actually got to go into a pitch meeting.
Right? No, I mean it's.
I don't have those kind of connections, Earl. Do you?
If I did, I wouldn't be on this couch right now interviewing you.
What's the?
I'm just kidding.
If I may ask, what is this? I always hear this thing in kind of passing, but what is the connection between you and the Kennedys?
My aunt is Ethel Kennedy.
And she is.
She was married to Bobby Kennedy.
Okay.
The second Kennedy brother in '68, who was assassinated by Sirhan Sirhan at the Ambassador Hotel.
Yes.
Downtown L.A.
Yep.
Which I think is still there in some capacity.
I believe so.
I think they were trying to turn it into a school or something.
Huh.
Or maybe they did. I can tell you who the fourth bass player was in Dawkins, but I can't tell you if the Ambassador Hotel is like, still standing. But there's all kinds of documentaries on that assassination. The JFK one gets a lot.
Right.
But the RFK assassination is almost as interesting, because it's, I'm not a big conspiracy guy.
Yeah.
I think 9/11 pretty much happened.
Did you see the movie Bobby?
I did not. I've seen documentaries, but I've never. I don't like watching the movies because I don't like when Oliver Stone takes creative license with historical facts.
Sure.
It's like, I like to documentaries. I like just because it's pretty much here's what happened. You can believe it or not.
Yeah.
But there's some that are wacky, like the one Loose Change, which is about 9/11.
Oh yeah.
Like you kind of that's probably the only one that's okay, maybe it was a conspiracy. Maybe Bush and Cheney, maybe they did blow up Building 7. And then toward the end, he's like, I have proof that 9 out of the 19 hijackers are still alive. And it's like, okay, you just lost me. You had me. You got me thinking it's possible. And then when you hit me with that one, I'm like, all right. The last 2 hours have just been ruined by, stuff like that. So,
yeah.
I mean, are you a big conspiracy guy?
No. Yeah, I don't even let my mind really enter that because I feel like it's just going to be a bunch of time I'm going to be spending thinking about something that is if you're going around shouting to the masses about this thing that may or may have possibly happened, may not have possibly happened, what are you doing with your time? That's the way I look at it.
Well, I think it depends on how entertaining they are. Like Alex Jones. You ever watch him?
He's a radio show, too.
Radio show guy. He big conspiracy guy. It's secret police and Bohemian Grove and the Illuminati and, Skull and Bones and, every, the MH370, the missing Malaysian airline plane.
Yep.
Was flown to a secret base, and it's like craziness, and like 9/11 inside job, and it's like, okay, if 9/11, the military planes were flown into the tower in Pentagon, it's like, well, what happened to all those people on the 4 planes then? Like, they've been held fucking captive for 14 years, and
right. Yeah, I got enough to worry about in my own life that I could.
Yeah, I don't give a shit if it was a military.
I'm not going to be the guy crusading against some sort of conspiracy.
I'm just trying not to bomb at an open mic tonight.
Exactly.
I don't really care if
it's world issues. Is my 8-minute set going to hit?
Yeah, can I get laughs and do chicks in the crowd think I'm hot? Am I going to get my ding-a-ling played with because I had a good closer? So, you're right. I got to stop worrying. That's one of the things, I don't know about you, that I have to stop doing is worrying about other comics, conspiracy theories. Just worry about yourself.
Yeah, there's conspiracy theories in comedy.
Well, give me one.
No, I'm just saying. It's like all about, everybody creates things in their own mind. Like, I think this person, is just holding me back. I think this person doesn't like me. Or, I mean, sometimes they're true, sometimes they're not. But those are almost little conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, this comic's out to get me.
Yep.
I mean, I could say the previous talent coordinator at the Comedy Store was legitimately out to get me, which I will never understand. I've done several podcasts on this gentleman, and he's now running an open mic right down the street from the Comedy Store. So
He is?
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Which is really fucking sad. Like,
Wow.
here this guy was probably, you might say, and I don't know if this is a stretch or not, the most powerful guy in LA comedy. I mean, he was the gatekeeper, and the Comedy Store, I think, to comics holds a certain allure.
Uh-huh.
Like, I want to be in at the Improv and Laugh Factory too, but
Right.
to me anyway, it was always the Comedy Store. That's what I wanted.
Yep.
Because I think it just fits my sense of humor the best. And this guy, it had to be pretty special to know that hundreds of people felt like me and were all kissing your ass to get in. And he for 10 years was the power guy in LA, and now he's playing guitar at an open mic.
Wow. Yeah.
Suck it.
I've had my interactions with him.
Everyone did.
Yep.
And what did he what were your interactions like with him?
Well, my first ever interaction was I went to an open mic. This is like 2007 or 8, the Sunday night one. Yeah. And he goes, I was just doing the thing, like introducing myself to him, right?
Well,
yeah. I'm like, yeah, Patrick, nice to meet you. And he's like, oh, hey, he probably impersonated better than me, but he's like,
well, okay.
He goes, I didn't watch your set. I was outside. But here's what you need to work on.
Okay.
I'm like, wait a second. He's never seen me. He didn't watch my set. He was outside, but he's got notes, right? And then I called a comic who was pretty established at the time, and he's like, yeah, don't listen to him.
I know. It's insane to me. It's like he once said to me, great set, Earl. I'm like, Tommy, I haven't even gone on yet.
Exactly. It's like the same story.
It's like, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. So, I mean,
But Adam seems to be running things pretty well, right?
I think Adam's doing a great job. And people may say, well, that you're just saying that because he passed you or you're friends with him, which is true. But I think he's doing what Tommy should have been doing. Getting big names in there.
Sure.
The Rob Schneiders, the David Spades, the Craig Fitzsimmons, Tom Papa, Hannibal Buress.
Yeah, saw him last night.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. And, like, Tommy said Louis C.K.'s only a writer. So, I think that pretty much tells you about the talent coordinator's talent picking abilities. That the biggest comic in the world is only a writer.
Well, he was half right. He said
he is a writer.
The only part is the...
Yeah. Of course, he did his Comedy Store. He did a special at the Comedy Store, which I think is coming out May 28th. And
that's right.
If you've been to the store lately, most rooms are packed.
Yep.
And that certainly wasn't the case with good old Tom Bone. I'm working on a new character, thanks to Danish and O'Neill, to legendary LA Comedy Store comics, and Dikembe Mutombo. It's a black version of Tommy.
Dikembe Mutombo.
Mutombo, not
Oh,
Mutombo.
Mutombo.
Well, it's not just that. It's in progress. To you people who aren't comics in the LA scene, you probably, that last 5 minutes of the podcast just went right over your head. But
it matters to us.
Yeah, I mean, me and Patrick are true grinders in the business. We're just two guys trying to make it. And, we're two wrestling fans. And, it's funny that a lot of comics like pro wrestling.
Yeah, there's some parallels.
I told Piper that. I mean, outside of the physical activity, the gym, that it's. I think it's the same mental toll on you. It's the travel. If you do the road, it's similar.
I saw last night on a flyer on a bar show in the Valley. Talk about obscure. Above average Mike Sanders from WCW performed. Stand up.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, I know Dolph Ziggler and his brother, when Dolph's in town, him and Ryan Nemeth, his brother, they do a show at the IO West. It's more improv than stand-up, and John Morrison.
Yeah.
Or you Lucha Libre fans might know him better as Johnny Mundo.
That's right. Yeah, he's around.
Yeah, he's right. He actually did roast battle with me. We battled.
I love Ziggler.
Ziggler's great. That will be my next roast battle contestant.
Nice.
When he's in town. And he's been with a few female comics, so it's...
Yeah, I think they openly talk about it on stage, right? Or on...
I think on certain
Amy
podcasts.
Schumer, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Amy Schumer, and I won't mention the other names, but,
we're not going to name Dolph Ziggler's
I'm not going to name...
list of...
list of female comic conquests, but I will if we ever roast each other.
Oh, there you go.
Which I have a feeling we will.
Nice.
So, but John Morrison was great,
Yeah.
You ought to see his... You ever see his workout videos?
No.
Oh, my God. He does parkour.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like literally climbing buildings and like with no like with his bare hands. Like there's no suction cups or anything.
Right.
Like he's like, it's I thought I was in pretty good shape. Like I saw him once at the gym doing these like wacky like dumbbell things. Dumbbell raises like in a rotating fashion with 30 pounds. And, when he left, I'm like, oh, I could do that. So I took the 30-pound dumbbell and literally almost blew out my shoulder. And like the first, I couldn't do one. And he had done like 10 minutes of them. So.
Well, you got to be an amazing athlete to do the kind of wrestling they do now.
Yeah, it's more high flyer and like lucha libre style. Although I think, you still have guys like Ryback and.
But even those guys, they used to be, guys like smoking a cigarette, swigging a beer, Dick Murdoch going to the ring.
Oh, yeah.
Dusty Rhodes. Although I think he was kind of sneaky fast, sneaky strong in a way. Yeah, even though his physique didn't tell you that. But Dusty was an athlete.
Well, same thing with Adrian Adonis.
Oh, yeah.
If you, most of the fans today, or the younger fans, just kind of remember him as the dude from the flower shop,
right?
Being pretty chubby, but he was in great shape. But, or a guy like Kamala, he was in pretty good shape, even though he was kind of chubby. No legs now, but I mean.
Did you see that Kamala said he says he used to carry a gun in the ring? He had a gun in his tights.
Yeah, with Andre the Giant.
He's afraid of Andre.
I guess the story goes that they were wrestling in the ring once, and they actually started to hit each other, and Kamala hit him hard, basically saying, "Hey, I'll stand up to you." And they got into it in the locker room. Kamala pulled out a gun on him and said, "Hey, motherfucker, I don't give a shit how big you are." And ever since then, there's a video on YouTube, if you could find it, where he shows the shorts and the little secret, pouch where the gun.
Oh, really? Because I was questioning that, if that's true.
Oh, no. I mean, no, he there was like a little patch where the crotch area would be, almost a pouch, like a kangaroo type pouch. Right. And to me, that shows you how crazy they were back then. Like, you got a live gun. Like, if he splashes you, the gun's going to blow your fucking dick off.
Yep.
But now his legs are blown off due to diabetes. Have you heard that song "Push It"?
Push It?
Yeah, by Kamala. Oh, you have to. I got Piper into this. It's basically a 3-4 minute shoot song on just the shenanigans that were going on back then. Like, he talks about Pat Patterson fucking the Brooklyn Brawler. And in the hotel room next door to him, and it's kind of got a catchy beat. Like it's got like a slight Jamaican Rasta beat to it. And he's like, in the Brooklyn brawler was screaming all night. Pat Patterson was in him all night, and it's
Jesus.
like, you got to kind of pay attention to what he's like, because he's not like saying they actually fucked, but he's like, doing like these innuendos.
Right.
And, Vince McMahon said, "I'm gonna do you one night." It's like, what does that mean?
I love how you just threw that out there like it was a known pop song. Have you heard "Push It"?
Oh, it's great.
I'm thinking like Salt and Pepper.
No,
by Kamala. The Ugandan giant.
Yeah, I mean, and then it got so big. There's a Push It too, but it didn't quite have the panache of Push It. And they went to the well too often.
Come on, Kamala. You got to get a better music producer.
Well, he's got to worry about his legs right now. I'm sure the quality of his music videos is not high up on his list, but you have to. There's like a half-hour interview video of him. It's kind of sad, but he tells the story about Andre the Giant,
right?
And he speaks in this really bizarre accent because he's not actually from Uganda.
Right.
He's from like South Carolina. So he's like, yeah, and I told Andre the Giant he better start thinking. I was like, what is thinking? I know what thinking means, but
yeah, he was a creation of Jerry Lawler, right?
Yeah, like some bizarre racist, like, hey, I got a great idea for you. Like he was a legitimate wrestler. Like,
right.
If you look at like, early, promo pictures of him, he kind of looked like a black Jerry Lawler, the singlet, and, like a junkyard dog type of, normal dude. And I think, back then in the South, I'm sure it was a great idea. Hey, I got a great idea. We're going to put you out there as some savage black dude. Can't speak English. He's just an animal. It'll do big business. And it did.
Right.
It's like Junkyard. I mean,
Junkyard Dog is my favorite, pretty much my favorite of all time.
But that character is just like.
But I didn't think of that at the time. When I was younger, I didn't think of any sort of racial implications with his character at all. I just thought he was so entertaining. He had charisma. He danced. I didn't think of like, oh, he has a chain on his neck. I never thought of that as a kid,
I mean, we were kids.
Yeah.
I never did either. But now I look back and go, Jesus Christ, this guy was fucking told to come to the ring, get in the ring, run around on all fours, bark like a dog with a dog collar on. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Kamala, savage animal, so dumb he couldn't talk. Slick, the jive talking pimp.
Right.
Hakeem, the basically playing the world's largest wigger. My brothers.
They yeah.
Virgil, Tito Santana playing like the typical Mexican. Like,
Yep.
You can't. I mean, I know that I think the last racial character the WWE tried to do was that Al Qaeda. I think his name's Muhammad Hassan.
Oh, yeah. Right. A few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I remember he was at the WrestleMania I was at in Staples Center where he beat the shit out of Eugene, which was another great character. Basically,
mentally challenged.
Eric Bischoff's, Down syndrome cousin, who was a great wrestler. I think his name was Nick Dinsmore.
Yeah, that's right.
But and that's kind of like the shitty thing is like he was a lot like some of those '80s metal guitar players, like who were great guitar players. CeCe DeVille from Poison, classically trained, but I'm sure at one point it was like, all right, playing this good shit's not paying my bills. I'm gonna dye my hair pink or blonde and play a pink guitar, and he's a multimillionaire. I'm sure in Eugene's case, it was like, hey, I'm a great wrestler, but I ain't making any money. I'm going to play a fucking kid with Down syndrome, like with retard strength.
I'm sure he's got, I'm sure he made his money too. I hope he saved it.
Yeah. I mean, that's another guy. It's like, that was a tough character, though. It's like such a one-trick pony. It's like, there's no way I think you can rehabilitate that character. Like, hey, this isn't a retard anymore. It's just, he's one of Bray Wyatt's cousins.
They've been known to repackage things, though. Just bring them back, not even address it.
Yeah, but that's kind of a tough one to like, because he was so good at playing a mentally challenged person. I don't know how you could have him like all of a sudden, unless you got like electric shock therapy and was cured.
Do you remember the electric shock match in WCW with the
Shockmaster?
No, it was a match where they electric shocked. I think it was Abdullah the Butcher.
Oh my, yeah.
They cooked him. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's a Abdullah the Butcher. Like
He's another one. He's still in this scandal where the other guys wrestlers saying he gave him hepatitis. Was it hepatitis?
yeah, well, because I mean, I mean, he was a pretty unhealthy guy. I think.
They swapped blood during a match. He's saying.
Well, he was notorious for
Yeah.
blading. And if you look at pictures of him now, his forehead is
Whew.
like. They say he can fit a quarter
I'm sure.
into the ridges on his forehead.
Yep.
And, and if you're ever in the Atlanta area, I believe the restaurant is still in operation. Abdullah's Ribs, where he you can go in and see him behind the counter,
Wow.
cooking.
He's cooking.
Like I don't know if I would really want
do you want a guy who possibly?
has hepatitis.
Yeah.
Sweating because that was his thing. Was like he was so fucking fat and out of shape. He had back, side, and front tits that he would sweat like 30 seconds into the match. He's dripped,
Right.
drenched, not dripped.
Both.
Yeah, but probably both. But would you want to go? I've never worked in a restaurant like in the back. I'm assuming the grill. I'm assuming. Well, you tell me. The grill's pretty hot.
Yeah.
Like if you're cooking burgers, ribs, chicken. So I'm assuming Abdullah the Butcher would sweat pretty easily over the food.
Yes, and his body would be hanging over the food.
Oh my God, his big fucking gut. And it's crazy that he's alive, but the Ultimate Warrior is dead. Like Mr. Workout, man.
Yeah, you can't. It's like the whole Keith Richards theory, man.
Yeah, I mean it's like so bizarre. Like who lives, who dies. George Burns lived to 102. He never worked out a day in his life. Smoked cigars and cigarettes every day. Drank Coke.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of these wrestlers who are like Mr. Workouts and Chris Benoit. I mean that's a whole different animal. But,
Yeah.
I mean, at least we know his finishing move worked. I mean it's. Can I ask you a question about that whole thing?
Yeah, go
I mean,
ahead.
you're a wrestling fan.
Yes.
I think you and I are what we call marks in the business. We're like educated fans. And this is the one thing that's always bothered me about the Chris Benoit whole thing is that where was the kid's tag team partner? I mean, shouldn't someone come in for the save? Or is that too much? Can you imagine if it was like a real life match and someone jumped in off the crib to save him, Sting dropped down from the ceiling fan and put him in the death drop.
I thought you were going to ask me about if he should be in the Hall of Fame or not.
I'd love to see who inducts him there. But, well, you can't, I mean,
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it should happen.
I mean, it's, I'm guessing. But, I tell you what, never say never. I mean, Medusa was inducted this year.
Right.
And she is famous for dumping the women's
belt.
title. But, yeah, that's not killing your whole family. That'd
No.
be crazy, though, if he got in. Imagine the crowd for that. And inducting
Nah.
Chris Benoit into the Hall of Fame, the big boss man, because he's dead. He's not going to,
I don't think it's going to happen.
I'm surprised that they haven't worked it into an angle, though. Like, nothing's off limits in wrestling. Nothing surprises me.
Yeah, but they're coming down pretty hardcore.
I mean, now they are, but I mean, once again, back as kids, like, what was it when Kurt Angle was going to ECW? They fly him in there, and he's like, "Oh, this is different than WWE." And then it was that one night that was it Raven crucified the Sandman,
Oh, that's right.
like, and they hung him up on the cross.
Yep.
And Kurt Angle's like a pretty Christian dude. He's like, I don't think this place is for me.
Yeah. Well, they did that too. Undertaker did that with Stephanie, right?
I mean, it's just like, What the fuck? I mean, do you think there was ever an angle that was too much? Like, wow, this is like as a fan. Like I asked Piper, like, did you and the boys in the back ever think a character like Slick or Muhammad Hassan was like, okay, well, this is crossing a line. As a fan, did you ever go, this might be too much?
Well, that one that they did get a lot of heat for, where Steve Austin went into Brian Pillman's house,
Oh, right.
and you were like,
With the gun.
Did he just shoot him? Whether it's a story or not, you're like, and then I think they cut and they went to Catch Us Next Week. I think it was like it was like a cliffhanger. That was pretty crazy. I couldn't believe they did that.
Well, that was, I think, in the right as the Monday Night Wars were starting to amp up. So it was like, I think WCW was giving away. They were live, but Raw was taped, so they would give away the results of Raw.
Right.
Hey, if you want to tune in to see fucking Cactus Jack win a shitty title, tune in now. And it actually worked against him because people did go over and watch that match. Right. So
I think it's also the way they make it look. The fact that it looked like he was entering Pillman's real house with his real family is a whole nother thing. Just like they had it was a little weird sometimes when DDP was stalking Undertaker's wife.
Yeah,
like
that got creepy.
Storylines,
Then I think there was someone stalking DDP's wife, Kimberly. She was one of the Nitro girls. There was some angle where it was like got weird. I want to say Scott Steiner, but that's just because he threatened Hulk Hogan's wife recently at the airport.
Oh yeah.
At WrestleMania weekend. I mean, I think kids today, it's such a sanitized product. Like, we were lucky. Like, we got to see some great angles. Billy and Chuck's gay wedding. I mean, that might have been the last great swerve to me. And like, Eric Bischoff is the minister.
Oh, that's right.
Great makeup job. I mean, he looked like
he was the old guy.
Yeah, and like he's like his left hand's shaking like he has Parkinson's.
Eric Bischoff, good actor. Who knew?
He really, but I mean, that's like in Bischoff's old school. Like he's, grew up, under the tutelage of Jim Cornette and the Crockett's, promotion. So he was like the last guy who I think like sold it. Like, okay, I'm gonna play a 90-year-old minister at a gay wedding. And like that Rico as the gay wedding planner was just. I always, when I'm down and have a bad set or a girl breaks my heart, I watch. There's a 15-minute.
You watch the Billy and Chuck gay wedding?
It is the fucking funniest thing, and like the homophobic stuff they were saying, like Billy Gunn. Well, I'm not gay. I mean, I got no problem with gay people, but if I was gay, I wouldn't marry you, Chuck. It's like, what? Is that supposed to help this angle? And then Umaga comes out, because at the time it was Rosie and Jamal, and like does his finishing move on Stephanie, which had to hurt. I mean,
yeah,
and then Rico,
he died too.
Yeah, he died, and then I'm not sure what happened to the other guy. 3-minute warning. That was the cue. That was the great cue of that segment. Their tag team was called 3-minute warning. So Bischoff is, as the segment's coming to an end, he's like, a marriage lasts for 57 years, 5 hours, or 3 minutes. And then he just drops the Bible. Wait a minute. Did I just hear myself say 3 minutes? And then the crowd finally, like, wrestling fans are pretty smart.
Right.
In terms of, okay, that's so-and-so in disguise. No one knew it was Bischoff. And so he starts peeling off his face.
Yep.
The crowd just goes nuts. And, like, it's like the last swerve, other than Sting's match at WrestleMania when all those old relics came out to ruin the match.
Wasn't a fan.
Well, I could, if they would have cut out the DX and NWO and just had Shawn Michaels deliver the super kick, like I told Piper, to my knowledge, that was the only time those three have ever been in the ring together.
Yeah, must have
You
been.
know, because I don't think Triple H and Sting ever were. I mean, they were in WCW at the same time, but I don't think that they ever had a.
No, he wasn't there that long, Triple H.
Yeah, and I don't think he and Shawn Michaels would have ever. Unless when Sting went full on Reborn Christian and did that tour with Ted DiBiase.
That's right.
But I don't think Michaels was involved. So it's like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then it was just, I don't want to bore people with Sting talk again. It still fucking bothers me, man.
Yeah, they really botched that one, man.
But it's just, there's no way, talking about rehabilitating, characters. Like, it's like, he'll now be, if you bring him back, I mean, he's going to fight The Undertaker at WrestleMania 32. You have to have him, I think, in another match to get him a win before he loses to The Undertaker.
I'm not so sure that's going to happen.
The match?
Yeah, him and Undertaker?
I mean, if it's going to be at Undertaker's home.
Yeah, in Dallas, retirement match.
And, Sting is, I think he's from there. Or either he lives there now or he has some affiliation with Texas. I know he grew up with Warrior in Venice, and that's where he started.
Right.
But
they were in World Class together, weren't they?
I don't think Sting was ever in World Class.
Or was that Memphis?
Well, they broke up pretty fast. I know they started off, there was this thing out here, I think it was called the Power Team USA, and there was 4 of them. Sting, Warrior, and 2 other guys. And I think legend has it, Sting says he got a call from a promoter, said, I want the 2 guys on the right, which was Sting and Warrior. So then they just took off to somewhere in the South.
Yep.
And they didn't stick around that long together because, according to Sting, Warrior was more business, like, I want this, that. And Sting was like, I'm just happy to be here. I mean.
Yeah, I remember him as the Dingo Warrior. That's the first time I saw him.
Yeah, I think that's AWA.
Yeah, no, I think it was Texas.
But that's in the AWA, Texas?
No. They were a subsidiary of the NWA because Flair would come to town and defend the title. That's when Kerry Von Erich won the title from him.
The Von Erichs. I mean, there's another,
Yep. Kerry Von Erich was champion for 16 days. Flair won it back.
That's a whole nother podcast. Is the Von Erich history. 3 brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 committed suicide?
Or died in some freak accident. I don't know if they were all suicides, but they were all, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I've probably known about 10 comics who've killed themselves or died. Do you know?
I think just 2 or 3.
Who do you remember who they were?
Well, most recently, there was a guy, he ran shows in the Valley.
Oh, yeah.
He's a cool guy, man.
I did his room, like Jake or something.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Seemed like that's the crazy thing about the mental toll of this business is, like he seemed great the night I met him. And
yeah, it's a trip. I honestly do consciously try to pay more attention now. I was hanging out at the Improv last night and, I ran into somebody who was kind of, I think, genuinely down. And I'm like, you all right, man? You know what I mean? Like really not kind of skate over it anymore, but like really kind of check in with somebody. You just don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I knew that comic Will, I want to say Arndt, might be off on his last name. He had like that, I don't know if it was a disease, but like where his right hand was huge.
Yeah.
Like I want to say like Elephant Man, like that like type of like disfigurement
right.
of the hand, and he killed himself a couple of years ago, but he always seemed like, I'm in a good place, and I mean, do you ever get depressed in this? Not like suicidal, but
yeah. I mean, I get more frustrated than anything, but I think definitely when I was younger, I got more depressed. But now I just try to keep going because I feel like if you just keep going, you never know when the door is going to open anyway. So to try to plan it out in some way you think is going to happen never seems to work out for me. So I just kind of keep going. And, anything good that's come to me has happened in a way I didn't see it coming anyway.
Right.
So, like, I'm not going to get upset or try not to get upset or depressed or frustrated over something that I put a lot of stock into. Like, oh, if that would have worked out, because you don't know, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's like
I've had a lot of close. I mean, everybody's got those stories, right? Like Hollywood, close calls, but it seems like destiny lined everything up, and then you were the second choice, or you didn't get it, or whatever it was, you know.
yeah. Welcome to Hollywood,
Yep.
man. All right, well, Patrick, this has gone better than I thought. I'm just kidding. This is the part of the show where you plug anything other than my ass.
Well,
Where can people? I want to expose people to your comedy,
Sure.
your whatever you got going on. You want people to check out, like Twitter. I'm sure well, you are on Twitter. What's your Twitter?
Yeah, I'll keep it simple. It's Twitter, because I post everything I'm doing on Twitter, you know. At Trick Sully, Patrick O'Sullivan. I know it's kind of weird, but it's
How do you spell at Trick Sully? Because my fan base might not be
It's not just your fan base. Everybody wants to call me Scully from X-Files.
right.
TrickSully.
And do you have like YouTube and shit like that?
Yeah, but I'm not that consistent with that. I do a lot of live stuff.
Okay, cool. Facebook, you.
Yeah, Trick Sully. It's all
And,
on.
oh, so everything's Trick Sully.
Uh-huh.
Instagram too.
Yep.
Check out this man, ladies and gentlemen. He's not only a very funny comic, a very talented dude, and you know, he's one of the reasons I started this podcast, because I just want to interview people I like and respect, and I don't do this podcast for money.
Thanks, man.
No, thank you, dude.
Yeah.
And you're welcome. Anytime there's a major event in pro wrestling, you know, like the Hulk Hogan heel turn, which I always like to refer to as Wrestling 9/11. You know, when the second leg dropped on Savage, that was like the second plane hitting the tower. I was like, oh shit, man. Before we go, what's your fondest wrestling moment? Like, do you have an angle that you like the best?
Not Angle, but I remember live I saw a cage match between Piper and Orndorff. It was awesome.
Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah. I remember that. That's it, you know? I want my memory to be something I was actually there to witness.
Well, I mean, speaking of Mr. Orndorff, at that WrestleMania I was at, I want to say WrestleMania 18, Staples Center, I saw him. He was just kind of laying around backstage on a couch, and I had to go up to him, man. It's like, that's fucking Mr. Wonderful.
Yep.
I say, hey, Mr. Wonderful, I'm a big fan. I hated you as a kid, but he's like, that was my job, son. He's calling me son. At the time, I'm in my 30s. And he's like, young man, what do you think of wrestling today? I'm like, hey, man, can I be honest with you? He's like, yeah. It sucks. And he looks at me and goes, you're right. I mean, my favorite moment is when I met Ultimate Warrior in full costume at an autograph signing right up the street from me. He was actually really nice. Everyone had said, hey, Earl, you don't really want to meet him. We know he's your favorite guy, but he's kind of a dick. And, like, you know, it's like my friend was his entertainment lawyer for a while. It's like, he's crazy, dude. You know, he's like, he just don't. And I had to go because it was right up the street from where I live.
Yeah.
This music memorabilia shop, I guess his manager owned. So they did an autograph signing there. It was a bizarre, like, this was like a punk, like they would sell, like, you know, replacement CDs and,
Right.
you know, like Dinosaur Jr. T-shirts. So it was like
Jr.,
really a bizarre place to have a pro wrestling signing. And, you know, I get up there, there's like 300 people there, and I'm last in line, just praying that nobody sees me standing in this line. Of course, like 10 people I know, hey, Earl, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, new Dinosaur Jr. shirts out. I want to, you know, want to get it. You know, and so I get up there, and I literally, you know, I couldn't look at him. He's in full makeup, you know, the duster coat, arm tassels, boots, and he's really nice. He's said my name 3 or 4 times, just trying to break the ice. Earl, I hear you're a big fan. Earl, thank you for coming. Earl, would you like a picture? And I'm just staring at his boots, going, yes, Mr. Warrior. Yes, Mr. Warrior. Can I get a picture, Mr. Warrior? Like, it was like meeting Superman.
Right.
And, then he died a few years later. And I know he tried to die on cue on Raw that night. I know he was, that would have been the ultimate fuck you to Vince
He's
McMahon.
yeah. Wow.
You bring me back. I hate you. You hate me. You put me into the Hall of Fame. Suck it. I'm going to die on Raw live. And, his timing was a little off. About 18 hours too late. But, that's... I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Wrestling talk, comedy talk. And Patrick will be back for more, as Rat was saying. And follow him, Trick Sully, on Twitter. I almost said on Trickster. That's a great band, though. A little late to the party, though. 92 was not a good era to be breaking as a glam metal act. So, but, they gave it a shot. Inappropriate Earl, this is, I believe, episode 63. SoundCloud, iTunes. Please leave a review. Also go on my YouTube channel, Earl Skakel. I'm just trying to make it, guys. It's all social content now. Being talented means nothing in this business. It's all about the numbers. And we'll be, next week, we'll have another guest. I don't know who. And if you think it's easy lining up guests, well, you start your own podcast, and I'll listen to yours. Until then, stop sending me emails on how to do it better. Because, you get the fucking gear, you put it together, you figure out which buttons to press in the right order, and you get the guest to come to your home where I have all permit parking and no parking for the guest, and you get them on your couch, and then you can give me feedback. I don't tell fucking Russell Peters how to sell out theaters. He's already doing it. Russell, hook it up, brother. I'm a big Kiss fan. You've had every comic open for you but me. come on. Keep it real, Russell. Just kidding, Russell. Follow Chris D'Elia, too. He's nice to me at the gym. Inappropriate Earl. Over and out.